What's up, ladies and gentlemen? And welcome to Wake Up and Ball. Brought to you by BetUS, the #1 online sports book. We're back. Shout out to everybody that's tuning in. It's playoff week. It's coaches search week, firing week. All right, there's a lot to get into. So let's get straight into business and not waste any time. TD, good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Richie, man. Here we are, hump day for some, many. Beautiful week. The NFL season over. We are back. I'm excited about these playoffs. I can't wait to get into it. So much to discuss. Y'all hit that like button on your way in the building. But Richie, we should be celebrating something right now, man.
What are we celebrating?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
You're gonna ask me what we're celebrating? Come on, Richie. We just talked about it. You forgot already? 19K subs.
Oh, 19K subs. I'm looking for 20, man. Sorry.
I hear you, man. That's the next threshold. We'll get it real soon, man. But thanks for everybody who's tuning in. We are at 19,000 subscribers. The channel is growing over here at Roundtable Sports. Wake Up and Ball is here every morning. Thank y'all for tuning in. And also, man, we have NFL SmackDown previews. Make sure you check those out on the channel. All of the divisional, all of the games that are taking place this weekend have their own SmackDown show. And as you can see, the Vikings, Rams already had their SmackDown. Green Bay Eagles had their, Bills, Broncos. Go check those out. Our top creators are basically going head to head with these teams, but also we got the Bucks Commanders coming up, Texans Chargers, and the Ravens Steelers later in the week, man. Y'all go check those out.
Yeah, man, the SmackDown was fun. I mean, the Bills and Broncos one was great. I was the host of it, and it was awesome to pin Dan and Ben against each other for this one. I mean, Ben is hilarious, and he was Lino TV was trying to fight him the whole time. So yeah. Ben was like, "Listen, you look like you'll beat me up, but I want to fight you, but I can't fight you because it looks like you'll beat me up." So Ben is hilarious. It was a great show. So make sure you guys go check that out over there on the Roundtable Sports channels, and then we have more coming out this coming week. All right. So
awesome.
Let's get into. There's a lot to get into, TD. Right. The thing I realized when Week 18's done and you get into the offseason for the bad teams and then you get into the playoffs for the good teams is you're not just talking about playoffs because there's so much going on around the NFL. Coaches being fired, GMs being fired, personnel changes, and then the Senior Bowl starts to kick up, and then there's so much happening at all times, which is why the NFL's around the clock, right? So I want to get your thoughts, first and foremost, of the Raiders firing Antonio Pierce yesterday. Now they are going to be in the coaching search. What was your thoughts of them letting go of Antonio Pierce?
First off, the delay was interesting. He just came out a day and a half before that and said, I don't know what y'all talking about. All this stuff about my job security is outside of the building, not inside the building. So I don't know what y'all are talking about. And before you knew it, he was gone. Let me start by saying this. There's a lot of people weighing in on this, Richie. There's a lot of people making claims about why or what it signifies. Let me be clear. I believe in a chain of command. I believe in continuous improvement. Okay, that's who I am. I'm the type of person that's a hard-nosed guy. And that's why, sometimes even me and Richie, we go at it because sometimes you can look at things morally and say what's right and wrong. But then there's reality that even though there's right and wrong, everybody don't care about that, right? And I'm not the person that sits up here and say, oh, this is racial doing it to a black coach, or it's politics, or whatever it may be. The Raiders want to be better. He may have been a good coach. I mean, the results didn't show it, but he may have been a good coach. I'm the type of person, this has nothing to do with all those other narratives. This is simply, I see better options, and I want to go explore those. That's what this is. And Tom Brady is going to, even though he's a small owner of the team, you cannot allow the GOAT to not have the final says when it comes to football. So allow the GOAT to explore building a team, and that's what's happening. This is Brady going to put his imprint with his ownership on the team and try to lead it to a great future and make decisions help the owner make decisions. Now, when we talk about the GOAT doing it, you think that say something because Michael Jordan is one of the worst owners in sports.
Wait, let's see what LeBron does when he owns teams.
We're talking about GOATs here, Richie. So can you
I know that's why I brought that up.
You sound like my son when we go to the zoo and we see a goat. Oh, LeBron, man, stop that mess. Stop that mess. I be thinking about taking his allowance away for crazy talk like that. But listen,
don't take my allowance, TD. Come on now, you can't do that.
This is about being better. This is about being better.
Okay, now let me bring up since we're on this discussion. Do you know what people are talking about with New England right now?
Mike Vrabel?
But their whole coaching search and how they're operating their search. There's a lot of people upset with them. Do you know why?
No, I don't. I was out of the loop yesterday, so you got to fill me in if anything.
Okay, so I'll see if you can figure it out yourself. So the Patriots already interviewed 2 candidates in the same day.
Okay.
And apparently they're acting fast, right? These are the 2 candidates that they interviewed, and they already announced it in the same graphic.
Okay.
And do you know
why they interviewing those 2 out of all of them? So they're making this racial. Rooney Rule.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people saying that what Robert Kraft is doing is, obviously what the Rooney Rule is, you need to interview not 1, but 2. And they interviewed 2 coaches
to satisfy the Rooney Rule.
To satisfy the Rooney Rule immediately, to get it out of the way in the same day, and they didn't have a nerve to separate them in graphics. They didn't even do 2 separate posts. I mean, this is like, and this is the first graphic that they posted of the 2 first people, and then look at the next post, top candidates. So like, there's a lot of people that are upset with the New England Patriots right now that Robert Kraft, and nobody's saying it. Obviously, there's a rule here, but they're just like taking this rule and like, let's just satisfy this rule. Let's hire Vrabel tomorrow. And there's a lot of people, if you look at the posts underneath it, a lot of people in the NFL media saying like, listen, we know the Rooney Rule is here, but like this doesn't really feel like it's satisfying no Rooney Rule.
Okay.
Because especially the 2 people that they're interviewing, Pep Hamilton and Brian Leftwich. I mean, these 2 guys aren't even up for a head coaching gig for anybody else. So I'm just saying what people are saying right now in the media.
So I have mixed feelings about this, Richie. I don't know how you feel about this, but it may shock people of how I feel about this. I don't think the Rooney Rule is effective. Number 1, we do recognize that history tells us that African-American coaches or minority coaches may get looked over or what may be, right? We do recognize that overall. But here's what I don't like, and this may shock some people. Sometimes you know the guy you want, and nothing's wrong with that. If I'm starting a business, a sports business, and I know you, Richie, and I'm like, man, I always wanted you to head up this department or whatever it may be, right? but there's a rule in business that says, hey, you have to interview 2 minorities for the position as well. I'm hiring you, Richie. I'll satisfy that rule, but I'm going to hire you, Richie. That's just reality. And this is why.
And it's not sad. Like, obviously they're satisfying the rule, but it's the way they're doing it, right? It's the way.
I was just going to say that.
Everybody has to satisfy the rule. That's a rule. But the way in which they're doing it is what's being questioned here. Well, especially if they turn around and hire Vrabel tomorrow.
But here, okay, the way that they're doing it is not. It isn't smart. It is a little dirty. Let me tell you this first of all. While you're interviewing those 2, can you go interview Aaron Glenn? And can you go interview Brian Flores and put them up there and then disregard them? At least give me 2 candidates that's realistic.
That's why people are saying it. It's not like we know what the Rooney Rule is. If Mike Vrabel is their guy, yes, you got to satisfy the Rooney Rule. But the way that they're doing it, 2 guys that we know they're not hiring, 2 guys that nobody's even interviewing, and they interview them both in the same day, which is rare, and post the same graphic of them together. It literally just looks like everyone knows what the rule is. And it's just like they're showing the world, like, yeah, the whole world knows we're getting Vrabel. Like, they're not trying to hide the way that they're operating. That's the thing. Like, I understand where you're coming from. They want Mike Vrabel. There's a rule in place. They got to satisfy the rule. But they don't even care about the way it looks on the outside.
That's the problem.
Everybody's upset with it.
They won't even lie to our face properly. That's the problem. Exactly. If we want to be honest, that's the issue. They're not even hiding it or whatever. But I will say this. That's bad PR on their behalf. But we all know they know the guy that they want. But I'm shocked that they didn't bring in some of the better minority candidates to at least show that they are given a fair shot. This clearly isn't showing a fair shot. But I'm going to backtrack. Yeah, you don't bring in Flores for this interview because this is why he's suing the NFL, ladies and gentlemen. He showed up to the Denver Broncos interview. He said they were late, drunk, all kind of stuff based off of the lawsuit. They basically brushed it off, just like, didn't take it serious. This is what he's alleging in the lawsuit, that when he went to interview for certain organizations, they weren't even professional. They were just like, oh, let's get this out the way almost. So that's why this whole Flores situation
what do you think now? If you're Brian Leftwich and both those candidates, what's going through your brain? Like, they're not dumb. Like, they're showing up and like, all right, I mean, are they like putting is Kraft gives some cash underneath the table? Hey, can you guys just come in for an interview? We'll give you No,
he doesn't. He just calls them to interview. That's
but they know, like, oh, but they're aware, like, or maybe they think, I don't know.
It's a tough spot. The NFL needs to do something else in this regards. I just don't know how you combat this though, Richie. I don't know. Now, they do have a good rule in place. This is what I do like. The NFL does incentivize minority hires because a lot of people don't know this. I think there's even compensatory picks, and not just at coaches, but in the front office, executive positions. So they get compensatory picks. And again, the first-time head coaches and things like that, they get to come to camp a week early. There are some incentives to it. It's just I just don't think everything needs to be looked at in those lenses. Everybody deserves a fair shot, but sometimes in your organization, that's the way you're supposed to do it.
The Jets are interviewing everybody. Now, like, some people are like, yeah, well, they're doing quantity over quality, but like they're bringing in everybody from every different background, every different race, every single perspective. I mean, quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. I mean, that's kind of how you would expect the rest of the league to operate, but that's not the case. Now, I want to
last thing real quick. I just want to clear this up, Richie, for those in the chat, because some people are already commenting. You misunderstand me. I am totally in agreement that everybody deserves a fair shot. Everybody should have an opportunity and a fair shot. But just because you interview don't mean you're getting a fair shot. Yeah. Don't let the window.
That's my point of the two guys at the pictures.
Fair shot.
The two guys the Patriots just interviewed. I mean,
they're
gonna
not getting a fair shot.
They're not getting a fair shot at all.
Unless they shock us all and the Patriots hire one of them.
Oh my God! Now Kraft is like, oh, I'm screwed. Now the whole world knows they're on to me. Now I gotta just hire one of these guys and just fire him after a year. I mean, it's wild stuff. Now
then they'll say it anyway. So
I don't know if you saw this, but there's something that is circulating the media, and I want to get your opinion on this because you have a real opinion and a perspective of your own of this. Are you aware, and I know you were out of the loop yesterday, so it's okay, of Ryan Fitzpatrick, what his comments were yesterday of any sort?
Yeah, I actually saw it at the airport. Well, I was reading up on it at the airport and stuff. So I saw about Flores, right?
Yeah.
Well, what some people don't know, a lot of these comments he had already spoken about a few weeks ago on a podcast. He had already done a lot of that, said a lot of that stuff. Here it is.
I have it. So I'm curious to get your thoughts.
Go ahead.
Did you hear it?
Play it. Let me hear it in its entirety.
Flores has been a really hot name, and I think the further removed we get from his tenure in Miami, the more people kind of forget about how that ended, and the better his name becomes. You know, he went to Pittsburgh and got to learn under Mike Tomlin and see how he led, and now he's been in Minnesota with Kevin O'Connell. I think the interesting thing with Brian Flores, when I think about him and being able to play under him for a few years, is which version of Brian Flores are we getting? And in year one with Miami, take you back to that year, I mean, Miami got rid of every good player they had. And that was the jokingly called the tank for two a year. But I'll tell you, halfway through that year, we hadn't won a game yet. And there was a shift in the way that he was approaching his job. He was likable. He was relatable. He demanded a lot out of the players, but he was also able to get the best version of his players. And I really appreciated him for that. But as his tenure went on in Miami,
pause.
He kind of became
because I want to feel some of the stuff in that he's saying here. You see how he went on to say the team was on a losing streak. It was his first year. They got rid of what I want people to understand. The context behind what he's saying is they got rid of everybody. There wasn't a single star on the team for the most part. This is when we traded away Laramie Tunsil, our all-pro left tackle, for multiple draft picks. The team was the no-name team. Yeah. The team was the
Minka?
Minka Fitzpatrick. The team was the no-name team. And what Fitzpatrick didn't finish there, as this team was on a losing streak, 1 or 2 and 7. We went on a 7-game winning streak after that when Flores had a shift and said, we're not going to go out like this with a whole bunch of no-names. Got a lot of them contracts. So he turned that team around with nobody on the roster and went on this big, huge win streak. Keep going, though.
He kind of became unrecognizable. A lot of the staff he brought over from New England, that was where, he cut his teeth in the NFL, was there for 15 plus years as an assistant. But I think he's going to have a really hard time if you're interviewing him as a head coach. I think in the interviews, he'll be likable, he'll be relatable. But when people say, okay, give me somebody from Miami that coached under you as a reference so we can talk to them, I think he burned a lot of bridges there. I think he alienated himself from the entire staff. Instead of what you were just talking about, having the humility to ask questions, to collaborate. I think by the end of his time there, he became a dictator. He ruined a lot of those relationships that he built up through the NFL. And his ego grew so big that there wasn't any room for anyone else. And so that was why he got released at the end of his tenure in Miami. I hope, we love Mike Tomlin as a leader. And I know you have some experience with Kevin O'Connell, that whole collaboration thing. I think that's, McVay and the people that come up through that system, for Flores to be able to watch Kevin for a year. I hope that helps him.
Yeah.
Because he certainly needs some help in that department of, not having a collaboration with the whole staff and having a lot of different voices and how they put together.
All right, so perfect. Let me break this down for you, Richie. First of all, Fitz, it's hard to take what he says for gospel, but you gotta actually take what he's saying as correct. Number one. But what he's doing is kind of disingenuous because he's leaving out a lot of context. Okay. First off, Fitz said he only got fined once in his entire career. He's only been fined once in his entire career. You know who fined him?
Flores.
Brian Flores. Why? Because Brian Flores told him when he brought him in as the bridge journeyman, I need you. Because remember, when he first came to Miami, he came fat. They were like, man, Fitz. They were like, hey, long as he winning, he was overweight. Flores had one requirement of him to stay under a specific weight. Fitz went over that weight by 0.9 of a pound. Flores said, we can't have this. He fined him. And Fitz never forgot about that. And Fitz said he was a jerk about it and he shouldn't have fined him. I've been in this league so long. But this is what the coach wants. I need you to be at a certain weight because you cannot get out of control with your weight because it can affect your play, right? That's number one. Fitz never forgot about that. Fitz talked about it on so many podcasts that he hated that mess, and it really irked him. That's number one. Number two, here's what people have to remember about Brian Flores. You know how he talked about Flores alienated himself in the building, broke all kind of relationships. Just go read the court filings of the lawsuit. That's all you have to do is go read the court filing of the lawsuit. Brian Flores claims in the lawsuit, and there's other people to corroborate, he was without saying, they were mad at him because he didn't tank for Burrow. The Dolphins were in the driver's seat to get Joe Burrow. Remember, we talk about it, Richie, when we started out 2-7 or something like that, and Flores said, no, we're winning. I'm trying to coach these guys up, and we went on a win streak. The front office was upset with him about not taking for Burrow. Even Dolphin fans, and rightfully so. If you believe in the tank for this person, you're mad at Flores. He's not a loser. He's not going to tank for you. We went on a win streak with nobody. The team tried to tank by stripping the roster and said even the coach can't help this. But he did. He showed them that he could build a winning team regardless, right? So the front office and the owner was not happy with him about that. This is in the lawsuit. They even called him in at one point when they started to win. This is what the lawsuit alleged. And in so many words said that they would offer him $100,000 for every loss going forward. And he said no. The very next year when they lost out on Joe Burrow, the lawsuit claims that they were trying to bring Tom Brady to Miami. And the Bucks and all of that, they were trying to bring Tom Brady to Miami. They had set up a meeting. The owner set up a meeting with Tom Brady on the yacht and wanted Flores to attend. Flores didn't know Brady was coming. He thought the owner was inviting him to the yacht to have a conversation. Flores showed up to the yacht. This is what the lawsuit alleges. Well, this is all verified. That's why we lost our first round pick, tampering with Brady, by the way. So that's already confirmed. That's why we lost our first round pick a few years ago, ladies and gentlemen, because of the tampering with Brady. Flores showed up to the yacht, found out Brady is on the way. We need you to help us talk to him about coming. Flores got up and left. Said, I'm not breaking NFL rules. I'm not doing that. The owner was mad about that. Brady showed up. They had whatever conversation. Okay? So remember this. This is what's going on internally in the building.
And Brady was under contract with New England at the time?
Yeah, or whatever. I don't see. It's all vague for me right now. I think he was, though, because it was tampering. We lost our first round pick. We lost our first round pick because of this. Because they did confirm the Brady piece. All right. Everything else is alleged because it's word against word. But the Brady piece was confirmed. That was in the lawsuit. Then when he got back, he said there was kind of like a hostility against him with the front office and in the building. And when you hear Fitzpatrick say something changed. He like alienated himself. Yeah, because he's in an environment where nobody likes him and everything is going wrong. And y'all try. And remember, we're talking about minority coaches, right? And Flores is the type, I'm a minority coach. If we get caught for this, what you think they gonna say? See, this is why you can't trust the minority coach. Look at what they doing. All from New England cheating. Flores just wanted to do everything on the up and up. He wanted to do everything right. He didn't want to be involved in all this scandal because it comes harder on guys
from
like
New
him
England, though.
That get but
Shocking.
he didn't well, he probably learned from the mistakes they made. But when you put all that together and you sit there and you're in that organization and then you're stuck with a quarterback that you don't believe in long term, that's the context people need to understand when you hear Flores, he's shifted, something changed. Fitzpatrick ain't involved in all of that stuff. He don't realize that stuff that was going on. All you got to do is go read the lawsuit. That's what changed in Flores. So imagine your boss not liking you, your general manager got a problem, everything around you ain't which that's the context that people need to realize about what happened in Miami. And they say by the end of that season, he wasn't talking to the coaches. The man probably felt like everybody out to get him. He's operating against everybody. Every time he go to the front office, man, we need to make this trade. Tua ain't the guy. Deal with it. Hey, he is the guy. It all added up and it changed him a little bit. And I think Miami became toxic for him, which made him probably toxic. So that's the context that people need to understand. Go read the lawsuit, but remember, this is all alleged in the lawsuit because the only thing that's been confirmed is the Brady piece of it. And we lost the first round pick, so he wouldn't lie about that. And I wouldn't be surprised if the rest of it was true too. So because it only makes sense. Was he a-hole to Tua and all of that? Yeah. But look at the circumstances man had to deal with in Miami. So all that Fitzpatrick stuff, I think it's very disingenuous, especially when people aren't given the full context of what happened in Miami.
Yeah, I mean, that's great context to know. I mean, I don't know any of that stuff. I mean, the Jets are interviewing Brian Flores. The Raiders are expected to interview Brian Flores. I wonder why New England is not interviewing Brian Flores, especially that he has ties to the organization. That's where he came from. It's all Mike Vrabel, but why not Flores?
They already know who they want.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, man. I feel like at the end of the day, all this stuff will get ironed out, and there's a lot of context, and this coaching hiring cycle is going to be very, very interesting. Flicks with the super chat, man, we lost a Super Bowl coach, Flores, because of Softy Tua.
It was brutal even beyond the Tua thing. Not getting Burrow really made the organization upset. And then when Flores wanted Jordan Love and or Herbert and they drafted Tua, that was another slap in the face to Flores, and he didn't like that.
So I want to get into some other news around the NFL. The Jacksonville Jaguars officially fired Doug Pederson, and they are conducting some interviews, and they're interviewing a specific individual that is interesting. And his name is Robert Saleh.
Oh, yeah.
Robert Saleh was a coach there when they were really good. That Jaguars team that went to the AFC Championship game with that elite defense. Saleh was the linebackers coach on that team. And then that was where he was before San Francisco, so he does have ties to Jacksonville. Do you think Robert Saleh deserves a second chance at a head coaching gig, or do you think he needs to be a defensive coordinator first? Because some people, I know you're probably not this person, but some people think that Robert Saleh's impact on the Jets was felt a little bit more, and it kind of helped his chances to be a head coach in the future because of how bad the Jets were after they fired him. You look at the numbers, it's all numbers here, but the Jets were still a top defense number-wise throughout the first 5 games under Saleh. And then when they fired him, their defense literally plummeted into the bottom tier, and they gave up, and the Jets became a dumpster fire. And the Jets were bad with Saleh, but they became worse without him. So do you think Saleh deserves a second chance at a head coaching gig? Or do you think he needs to be defensive coordinator first? Also, the 49ers fired their defensive coordinator. So that's a potential reunion of Saleh going back to San Francisco there, where he's familiar with the whole organization, same system. I feel like that's the perfect spot for him. Or Cincinnati at DC, or maybe a head coaching gig in Jacksonville, which I doubt he's going to get.
He needs to get a DC job for the next year or two and prove that he can continue to build units and then get a second opportunity to be a head coach. The defensive success when he was there and not there has nothing to do with being a head coach, because one of the biggest issues with the offensive side of the football. And as a head coach, you got to be able to show that you can, be a leader of men on both sides of the football. And at the end of the day, Saleh, I don't know what cachet he's built to just be able to go into another head coaching job right away. That's insane to me. Now, if you want to talk about a guy like Doug Pederson, that's a different story. You see what I mean? He should be able to go back into a head coaching job, potentially, having the experience that he's had in this league. But Saleh, the unit means nothing. That just means you, once again, are a good DC. You have to be able to.
So, who do you think fits best with Jacksonville? With Trevor Lawrence, top 5 pick, a lot of cap space, stud receiver Brian Thomas.
That's a great question. Nobody. Go hire your coach and then make a decision in 2, 3, or 4 years whether you want to pick Trevor or the coach. That's what it comes down to. Shady McCoy has some interesting words recently, and people need to pay attention to him. That's what it's about. I've seen the list. That's what it's about. When you have a quarterback who is good enough not to be good enough, and you keep trying to bring coaches to make them better and win with them, and they can't get it done, you blame the coach instead of realizing you got a quarterback that's good enough not to be good enough. That's why I've been preaching for the last 2 years. This league is going to start filling up with these above average quarterbacks that's good enough not to be good enough. And what they're going to do is send these teams into purgatory, get coaches fired, mess up people's resume, and waste players' careers. Let's put more ownership on these quarterbacks. They're the prime position making the most money. It's time to have more accountability at that position.
But what about the whole notion of, you see what Baker's doing, Sam's doing. They had to go to another organization to find their full potential. What if the Jaguars feel like we don't want to get rid of Trevor and he becomes good in another organization? Let's try to build around him and give him the proper system around him to make it fit for us, because we invested a first overall pick in him. We paid him. We invested in him. We don't want to get rid of Trevor and let Trevor become good on another team. Let's try to make him good on our team, because there's proof around the league where some quarterbacks just need more time and a new system, new things around them to work.
And I disagree with that, because it hasn't been proven yet, Richie. A 1 year off isn't proving anything. Now, Baker is the closest to proving, but that might be the exception to the rule. Just because a guy, oh man, he's thriving now. Is Geno Smith still thriving?
I mean, he's playing good, but not good enough.
Thank you. Good enough not to be good enough. I'll give Baker the nod. I like what Baker's doing.
Baker
I think no. I'm giving him his props finally, right? I wasn't, but I think he can. I think he can sustain. Maybe, right?
Who's better, Baker or Deshaun Watson career so far?
Career? That's a good one, Richie.
I don't think Deshaun Watson had one season better than what Baker Mayfield just did this year, statistically.
You might be right. It may
41
be
touchdowns.
Yeah, maybe Baker getting the edge. Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
Thank you for finally putting your boy.
No, it's because Deshaun over the last 4 years has been nothing.
And I think Baker had a better year this year than Deshaun ever had in Houston.
I'm not going to dispute that, but
Baker also won a playoff game too, so that's another thing.
Deshaun has as well.
I know, that's why I'm saying it evens out.
Josh Allen. Yeah, Yeah, I mean, I'm not.
Bo Nix better be just. Well, sorry, go on.
I hope so. But Richie, that's not a proven thing, Richie. Look at Tua Tagovailoa. Oh man, a new coach structure. He's the guy now.
Well, Tua's like
the league. No, forget injuries. We got to stop talking about injuries. Let's talk about
I was not
this
referring
man.
to injuries.
Yeah, let's talk about this man as a player.
Oh, I was. That's who I was referring to.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
People use the injury excuse to make you feel like Tua's not good because he can't stay healthy. Even when he's healthy, he's not doing anything besides put up empty yards.
Unless it's a team below 500, he can eat all day.
And he can give the ball to Tyreek
that's
and
the
he runs
talent.
down the field.
Thank you. That's the talent around him. But that's the point, though, Richie. What did they say about Tua 2 years ago? See, all you needed was a coach. All you needed was structure. The year after, yep, see, again. Now what? And moving forward, it's going to be the same thing.
I know you're not a believer in Trevor Lawrence at all, but do you feel like his talent has enough upside where you want to invest in it one last time?
Murray. Nope, another Kyler Murray. They have talent, Richie. They have talent. That's why I tell you, these are the worst quarterbacks to have because you can't get rid of them but you can't win the big stuff with them because they're good enough to give you those purgatory seasons, 9, 10, 11 wins at best. First round exits. If you ever luck out once every 7 years, you get one playoff win. That's it. They're not going to be able to compete with the likes of Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar Jackson. See, there's levels to this that nobody wants to recognize. They just want to think, well, he's good enough. We just need to figure out around him. Richie, you got to do 10 things around him to figure it out. And when the season's going, that's hurt. One of those things gone. All 10 got to stay intact. Ladies and gentlemen, it's almost impossible. I'm tired of teams having this above average quarterback and knowing that 10 things got to go right around them for you to actually win a Super Bowl. And then you get in the season and only 4 of those things held up all year. Well, if we could just have better luck with injuries, if that could hold up, it'll never happen. Out of those 10 things, something's going to go wrong. Every team.
So we're going to get into this later in the huddle, but there's a specific quarterback that I feel like turned the corner at the back end of the season.
Yeah, Bryce Young.
Mm-hmm.
I like what Brian. I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop
So Dan had a Bryce Young topic yesterday in the huddle, and I said, Dan, pause. We're saving this one for when TD's here. We're not getting into this now. So we have one ready for you today on the huddle because what he's doing out there, man, is impressive, and that's someone that you can compare him to Trevor Lawrence, in my opinion, because both first overall picks. Just from that standpoint, first overall picks written off as busts, but now Bryce, and let's not forget, Trevor Lawrence did have a resurgence that year where he went to the playoffs and won a playoff game. But then since then, Trevor Lawrence kind of fell off the cliff. So what Bryce Young did to finish off his career this season, very, very impressive. And there's a stat to see the last 10 games between him and C.J. Stroud. Staggering of the difference. Bryce Young, 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. CJ Stroud, 7 touchdowns, 6 picks. So while one of them is in the playoffs, one of them is not. Flick says, if we have the duo Greer and Tua, we ain't winning Super Bowl. Yeah, you ain't winning no Super Bowl with that. That's for sure. That is for sure. But, I feel like there's so much to get into regarding all the coaches and all the stuff that's going in. But let's get deeper into some of these playoff games coming up, man. There's a lot of playoff games, to be excited about for this weekend. If you guys want to go check out the odds on BetUS, make sure you do so. The code is YouTube150 to sign up. Using the promo code, we'll give you 150% bonus on your first deposit, 125% on your next 2 deposits, right? That's all up to $2,000. The biggest line of the weekend that's shocking to me is the Ravens 10-point favorites. That's kind of wild against the Steelers. I find that a little hard to believe that the Ravens, now they are the favorites. I think they should be, right? They're red hot. The Steelers are ice cold. But are you in on the Ravens beating the Steelers by more than 10 points?
Not at all. That is a shocker. Even if you're wrong, if you're an avid bettor, a lot of people are going to take that plus 10. A lot of people are going to take that +10. The Pittsburgh Steelers may be a little overrated, but in a playoff game, Mike Tomlin, I'm not going to sit there and eat a -10. That is now it can happen. Of course, they can beat them by 30, but I can't do that. I can't do that in a cold game. Mike Tomlin, Russell Wilson experience. Of course, I got Baltimore winning, but I cannot put a -10 on Baltimore. That's just hard for me to do. So I like that +10 by Pittsburgh, even though they'll lose.
Really? Yeah, I think the very, very interesting stuff that they are that much underdogs in the Pittsburgh Steelers. Also, guys, don't forget on BetUS, they also have a casino option, right? If you guys want to go to the casino, you can get ready for a rush with the BetUS Casino. Generous promotions and tournaments make every play even more rewarding. Sign up now and experience the difference. Get your bonus 200% bonus up to $5,000 with the 250% crypto sign-up bonus up to $5,000. So big shout out to BetUS. They got a lot of fun things over there. Please, please bet responsibly, folks. We really do appreciate everybody that supports us over here. Now, I feel like there's so many games to get into regarding the wild card weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And, talking about that game that we just referred to, Baltimore versus the Steelers, I think we're all on the same page here that we are taking the Ravens, or yes, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You're taking the Ravens.
Man, I'm not going to lie. We didn't talk about this enough. The Ravens ended the season 12-5.
What? And I've been saying that all along. Coming out of the bye week,
5 games this year, we were like, "Ooh, the Ravens."
And you know what else is staggering? Steelers 10-7. The Bengals have one less win than the Steelers. When you think of back on the season, you think that the Steelers had this phenomenal year and the Bengals had this underwhelming season.
The beginning of the year got
one game difference. One game was the difference. So
yeah,
I feel like and I said when the Ravens got off their bye week in week 14, I'm like, they're going to win out, bro. The Ravens are going to win this division. So it's going to be interesting to see. Who do you think is the biggest threat to come out of the AFC?
The biggest threat as in like underdog or just the best team? I mean,
like if there was a wild card team, do you think the Chargers are the wild card team to watch?
Thank you.
Like
you already said it. That's my wild card team to watch. That is my wild card team in the AFC to watch. The Chargers. I think that they're going to be a problem, and they're getting a little healthier. From my understanding, they got like 2 key players coming back. Off of IR, if I'm not mistaken. The Texans, man, they might be in for a rude awakening here. But I like the Chargers. Harbaugh. Man, that might be the wild card team, Richie. That could shock everybody this year.
Really?
Why not? Why not?
No, I see it.
Have they been blown out by any of these top contenders or anything this year? No. Like, come on. And JK, remember, let's not forget this. The Chargers, 11-6, they had a little bit of a struggle when J.K. Dobbins went on IR and Lad McConkey was out a couple of games. I think they lost like 2 games in that stretch, and not by much. Remember, they played the Chiefs, and they were in it the whole game until the Chiefs in the fourth quarter went up an extra possession on them.
So you have Houston has no chance in this game. I don't think anybody's picking the Texans to win besides Texans fans.
No, I think that the Chargers are actually, and they're not going to rout them. The Chargers aren't typically the routing you team. They just beat you. They're like the Pittsburgh, but I got more confidence in the Chargers going into the playoffs right now than Pittsburgh.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, now
Herbert might get his first playoff win.
This is a big game. Commanders, Bucks, right? You see these 2 wild card teams, like the 5th seed versus the 6th seed, or the 5th versus the 4th. it's always interesting because the home field is like the worst team.
I don't know who to pick in this one, Richie.
This one's tough. This one really
I
is
don't
tough. The
know.
Bucks have won a playoff game with Baker. They have a Super Bowl winning organization the last few years, obviously with Brady. And the Commanders are that young. I mean, the crazy, they finished 12-5, too. Same record as the Ravens. The Commanders, same record as the Ravens. And their wild card team. That's kind of blows my mind. So this is a tough game to predict.
Let me say this, Richie. This might be the upset. This might be the upset. There isn't, but the Commanders, well, you're right. The Bucks are the home team, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man, a lower record getting home. I'm sorry. I got to go Bucks. I forgot that they were home.
The Bucks are actually 3-point favorites.
Yeah, I got to go Bucks in this one. And I'm looking it up right now. I'm trying to see what impressive wins do the Commanders have this year? Do you remember any? They lost to the Bucks the first week of the season, by the way. Remember that. They beat the Giants, not impressive.
They beat the Eagles.
They beat the Bengals, but that was early.
Yeah, they beat the Eagles.
They did?
But yeah. 36-33. That was that classic game. But that
Eagles
was Kenny
beat
Pickett,
them.
Remember when Hurts got hurt and then they had that crazy comeback?
Yeah, and it was still late. No, I don't put any merit on that. Outside of that, where's the impressive win?
They beat the Bengals.
They lost to the Steelers, but that was week 3 version of Bengals. That's it. It's just the Bengals. Week 3 version, by the way. There ain't no impressive wins. There ain't none. Bengals are the only impressive win. And that was week
Eagles.
3
The
version.
Eagles are still a really good team, even without Hurts. That's
But they gave up 33 points to the Eagles. So that was, I just think the Eagles stopped scoring when Hurts got hurt. Remember,
Yeah.
I told you about that game. Eagles were routing them. And Hurts got hurt, and then they start routing the Eagles. So I just think the Eagles stopped scoring as much at that point. Bucks can beat a good team. The Bucks can duel out with you. I think this is going to be a high-powered offensive game. If the over-under is 50 or below, I'm going over. I think that this is going to be a firework game. Baker Mayfield is never going to lay down.
It's at 49.5.
Yeah, you gotta punch that over.
Yeah, this is going to be a good game. I'm excited for this Sunday night. It's going to be. So, folks, we got another day tomorrow to kind of go deeper into the previews. We're going to be live on the Huddle later today at 3. We're going to wrap up the show here. NFL weekend, playoff weekend, wildcard weekend is here, and a lot of other head coaching stuff and news coming as well. We will see you guys on the Huddle coming up. Anything you want to say to the people before we wrap it up, TD?
Now, thanks for tuning in. Tomorrow we'll continue on with these playoff games, giving our thoughts, and I'm excited. 19,000 subscribers here on Roundtable Sports, on our way to 20,000. Thank y'all. We love y'all.
Thank you guys so much. Over 150 live watchers this morning. Really do appreciate all the support. Don't forget to hit the like button on your way out. We really do appreciate you guys more than you know. Big shout out to BetUS as always for sponsoring Roundtable Sports. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Same time, same place.